Hello, everybody. This is Ian Williams, President of the Foreign Press Association, and as part of our regular series of Outside In podcasts, we're looking at the latest. Well, it's a worldwide phenomenon, certainly not just an American one, but there's an American base to it. Jeremy Newberger, distinguished documentary maker, award-winning journalist, etc., etc., was driven out of corporate studios by a proprietorial whim, a thing that besets many of us nowadays, and then went on to what he thought was the safe grounds of YouTube and found that his satirical videos were very popular. I think it was 200,000 subscribers, views, and then he suddenly got a note from YouTube saying they're not popular. And he found he was arguing with an AI bot. And as you know, arguing with AI bots is almost as fruitful as arguing with a federal bureaucrat. Um, in fact, I'm being unfair to federal bureaucrats. I found some very helpful ones in my time. Not many, when you can get through to them. Uh, if you're listening, the IRS, I've been trying for 6 weeks to reply to your letter because you told me to call, and I haven't managed to get through yet. But that must be how it feels for Jeremy with his dealings with YouTube, where after, as it a month, he's failed to find a human at the other end. He's talking to an AI bot who isn't actually listening from the sound of it. And the key point about this is, as many of us, he's switched income streams. He's getting more income from the YouTube subscriptions, etc. And the income has been stopped off because they have, new word, demonetized it. That's demonetized, which is close to, but not the same as demonized, it occurred to me. So what they're doing, they're demonizing people and then demonetizing them and it makes it worse because they don't tell people what they're being demonetized for. Just as, in fact, in the modern day, they don't tell you what you're being demonized for. It's just general vague, hey, you're woke, out. So I think Jeremy is almost probably self-confessedly woke. Can you tell us your career projection and how you got into how you moved in? And then we'll get into broader questions, both of journalistic ethics and AI and whatever. Um, so please tell us
Sure.
where you came from.
I am, I was first and foremost a television producer at NBC. I climbed the ranks at MSNBC when it first started, producing at first Don Imus and his television show, and then the internet correspondent Lisa Napoli, who I would produce her technology segments for all of the shows on NBC, from day parts to Brian Williams. So I was really in the mix in the beginning of MSNBC's 24-hour cable news introduction. But I wasn't sort of satisfied enough doing it. And the idea or understanding of what internet meant back then was just, well, what is the internet saying about this or that? So a lot of these producers of these different shows would be like, what is the internet saying about John Benet Ramsey? What is the internet saying about the plane crash? And my correspondent, Lisa Napoli, who was a brilliant writer for the New York Times and a tech reporter, she and I would just sit there like, well, we could be doing really interesting pieces, but they just want this kind of fluff. And it wasn't satisfying to me. So I left NBC for one of these broadband .coms that was merging at the time. And this would have been, around the millennium, a little bit after. And I started helping create content for Fortune 500 companies like Cisco and Sun and Intel and Microsoft, tech companies out in Silicon Valley, using my television producer skills. But to be honest with you, Ian, the dream I had before I got, this sort of pedigree of being a TV producer was to write for Saturday Night Live. I always had the sort of funny bone, was, at least to myself, hilarious. And that's kind of where I wanted to end up. So I left the Feed Room, which was this broadband company, joined two partners of mine who had made Emmy winning documentaries and became a documentary filmmaker, where we would inject some of my humor into the projects. I did that for 20 years, but still,
Wow.
it was not fulfilling to me, this need to be a humorist. So while I was being a documentary filmmaker, I started quipping aloud on Twitter, and I became something of a blue check marked satirist, where all of a sudden, the Washington Post or Newsweek would be quoting Mr. Newberger, on what happened, with the Republicans, or what happened with Donald Trump. And that, built a huge audience for me on Twitter. And I felt satisfied that my humor was coming out, at least in written form. And then when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he started chasing anyone whose politics didn't follow his into, we'll call it the dead zone, where you could have 130,000 followers on Twitter, and often be retweeted by, Ben Stiller or Bette Midler or people you've heard of, or one of the Monty Python guys. But now all of a sudden, no one is seeing your tweets, and I was getting like one or two likes from my 130,000, followers on something I would write. I said to myself, is it possible that 130,000 people don't think what I'm writing is funny anymore? Or am I buried? And of course, it was the latter. So my engagement fell to zero. And now I had to find a new way to get across my humor, to feel more satisfied about it. So I went to YouTube, where I had originally used my channel to show videos of my children, piano recitals and chorus concerts. And
No cats, I hope. No cats or
I mean,
dogs.
I do love cats, but we
Oh,
won't get
never
into
mind.
that.
We'll
But
agree to differ and carry on.
we're going to disagree. The first thing I did, and this was right when AI was allowing you to sample some of these platforms in creating video. Photos had been around for a couple of months, where you could create, just from your imagination, and within a second, an amazing AI photo image. But video was just starting out. And the first thing I did was I took Donald Trump's shark boat battery story, where he was questioning what's the better way to die, from a shark or getting electrocuted by a boat battery. This is really,
I
Rhodes
remember that one.
Scholar level, contemplation from Donald Trump. And I used AI to paint the story. So you see Donald Trump, you know, jumping off a boat and going underwater and seeing a boat battery, and then a shark comes by. It was a very simple thing, an exercise in kind of painting a Donald Trump story using AI, and it went viral on my, family YouTube channel. So now I was faced with, well, there must be a something here. Why don't I brand?
How did that get people's attention? Let's.
I mean, I tweeted it and posted it on other social media, but I think just a combination of keywords, uh, YouTube's algorithm, somehow whatever I did was not just being seen by nobody. And I think it had about 20 to 30,000 views at that point, which for, my YouTube channel, which had, 100 views on my kid's piano recital, that was something different. So I immediately said, I'm going to brand this. And I called it Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies. And Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies then became an experiment where each day, and I knew I enjoyed that titillation from, the amount of people seeing that first clip, that I was committed. I'm going to do a video a day. So I started doing a video a day. And as the AI got better, my videos got better. And as other technologies came into play, like Suno, which helps you create songs from whole cloth, and I mean like compositions and music, I started writing songs. I've always been a good rhymer and a prolific, humorist. But now I had tools that could bring my ideas to life, and immediately. And one of the things that I think was my biggest strength, if I might just be a bloated, egotistical asshole, is I
Why
could.
else would you do this?
Why else would I do it? I could wake up at 5 in the morning, read the newspapers, and know what the story of the day was going to be, and write a song or a skit that reflected the news, and then make a video that was ready by the time people woke up to digest, before going off to work. And people would always say, well, how did you do this so quick? This is like ripped from the headlines. And this looks like, it must have taken weeks. And that was kind of the charm of Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies. It was helping people digest the awful news of Donald Trump on a daily basis with satire and parody. It was my heavy-handed opinion about what he was screwing up this time, or how corrupt he was, or how despicable he is. And I wrote,
But not in any way partisan. This was just objective reality you were depicting.
yes, that is true. And my videos started to get more and more attention. All of a sudden, I had music videos with millions of views, and my fan base was growing and growing. And after about, I don't know, a year, I guess, or maybe a little under a year, my YouTube account was like a business. Because at the early stages, I allowed ad revenue to appear with YouTube's, monetization program. And I started making money that just became like not a side hustle, but a job. And I was happy to do it because YouTube was staying out of my, content. I was speaking truth to power. The comments were 99% positive. And I was doing, what I told you my dream was to be a writer for Saturday Night Live. Well, I made my own Saturday Night Live. It was Mr. Newberger's AI
Let's
Funnies.
let's pause for a moment and see one of your videos to give people a view of
Sure.
what it is you did to sublimate your desires.
Ba-doo, 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 ba-doo. If a parent asks their kid, "Did you eat the missing pie?" and he points at 7 other kids and insists they told a lie, wouldn't there be consequences? Wouldn't there be some tears? Isn't that the sort of thing he'll outgrow in some years? If a teacher asks a student why they didn't do the work, and he stomps around the classroom and he's acting like a jerk, wouldn't he get detention? Won't he get sent home? How come now that he's older, his tantrums have only grown?
There are lots of issues that your case brings up. One is Franz Kafka meets Catch-22. I mean, how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
What is? How does YouTube allow people to appeal against this? Has anyone ever told you why you were barred or why you were demonetized?
Yeah. So, Ian, well, when you say did anyone, no person ever interacted with me. So just as I became popular on YouTube, they gave me the keys to the behind the scenes kingdom of, you're now part of our creators. They invited me to events and movie premieres. And then they gave me an email address that I could write to if I ever had a problem, which I thought was great because I think one video got flagged as a community violation. It was an Allman Brothers parody I did about Donald Trump and someone named Bubba that he was alleged to have had some sort of dalliance with. Of course, it was just in the news and it was ridiculous, but it was fodder for, a satire of the day. And my metaphorical presentation was too much for the YouTube censors. So they gave me a warning. And after that, I felt, gosh, now I'm being censored. I was kind of a little ruffled because it was the first time that YouTube had ever said anything or done anything. But I was monetized, so I figured, okay, I'll be a good citizen. I'm usually a good ombudsman for my own content because I worked at NBC, as I mentioned. I know what, crosses the line of good taste. So all of a sudden, I get a community violation that I don't agree with. I had done a video series called The Grifters. Actually, I'm sitting here with a poster of it behind me. It was a 1980s TV parody like you would see on Dallas or Dynasty about the Donald Trump family. And it was called The Grifters. I had a theme song and a show open, and I had a laugh track, and I did 44 episodes of it. It was very popular. But in all 44 episodes, Donald Trump was presented as this oafish guy with his blue blazer, his long red tie, and no pants. sitting in his underwear, just like Captain Underpants, a popular book series here in the States.
I remember it.
So I
Yes.
had done 44 episodes of this show, and my community violation was on episode 44 saying you can't show Donald Trump in his underpants. And I'm like, oh, well, if you didn't like that one, you're not going to like the other 43 episodes I did where he's in his underpants. But it was already, I was suspended for a week as a result of the violation. And while I was suspended, I got another community violation. This one was for a video I did mocking the presidential library that Trump was going to build, making it a casino. And in the casino on a slot machine were Donald Trump with his, bullet ear bandage, a girl in a bikini from, the waist up, no nudity, just a bikini like you'd see in a poster, a gentleman's, poster. That was the violation. It was on screen for a half a second. And I said, God, they're really nitpicking about stuff right now. And it felt wrong and it felt weird. And I got a sense that the writing at this was in April, the writing was on the wall. And I spoke to another parody guy on YouTube who had done similar to me anti-Trump content. And he had just got demonetized. His name was Scared Ketchup. Very funny guy. And Scared Ketchup was just demonetized. And he explained to me in the same way that community violation snowballed into 2, into 3, and then he was demonetized. I saw the writing on the wall, Ian. I saw where they were taking me. And finally, the email drops, and it's from AI. And it says, inauthentic content. That was the charge leveled at me. Content that appears mass-produced or repetitive to increase views without adding significant educational value. And then they gave 5 subsequent, sub-levels of violation. None of it applied to anything I was doing. I was not copying news feeds and putting them in, automatically. I was creating original content. I wasn't taking music that had been created and lowering its pitch and just putting it on as my own song. I was creating my own music. All of the things leveled against me didn't make sense. So I went to that email they gave me, and I emailed. It was a guy named Sergio, and I said, "Hey, Sergio, I'm reaching out because I feel like I've been unfairly demonetized on YouTube." And I apologize to your audience if I'm starting to sound like Lenny Bruce or something. This is just what happened, and I don't know how else to tell you. And Sergio wrote me back this long, repetitive email, and then I said, "Sergio is not a real person. Sergio is AI." In irony of ironies, Mr.
So you
Newberger's
developed a
AI
relationship
Funnies
with an
is
AI. You're
being
not the first. You're not the first.
skewered by an AI. And I could not get a human, Ian. So they demonetized me. They said, check back in 3 months.
3 months.
They stopped the payment for money that had already been accrued for a large amount of money. Didn't pay it. I figured, oh, the timing is pretty convenient for YouTube. They didn't have to pay this money to me for ad revenue. And then it was just a week ago where I checked again to see what's the status because I could reapply for monetization. And I saw that they changed the charge from inauthentic content to unsatisfying or off-putting content. And that made me see red. Content that may be emotionally manipulative, disturbing, nonsensical, shocking, or otherwise similarly unsatisfying to viewers without delivering significant creative, educational, or other value. And I thought, fuck you, YouTube. Fuck you. You call me unsatisfying. I have an audience of 219,000 people that love what I'm doing. You can use your AI monitors to check the comments and evaluate that it's 99% people saying, gosh, thanks, Mr. Newberger. You're putting what my feelings are into, comedy on a daily basis. I was getting heaped praise encouraging me to do this. No one was unsatisfied.
So look,
And
this is where we have to be a bit speculative. There are two aspects here. One is I have always found in American journalism there is an unhealthy deference to authority. I can quite see a lot of people would say, you can't show the president with no pants on.
Yeah.
even though presidents have often been caught, and the fact that let's be bipartisan about it. The press maintained a discreet silence about JFK's dalliances with sundry females in the White House, and
Sure.
for many years afterwards. I mean, you don't disrespect the president. My president, right or wrong. I must say that recent presidents have actually broken this precedent fairly effectively.
Sure they
But
have.
but then there's this whole prejudice of the MAGA generation that says if we disagree with it, it must be wrong and unethical. So,
Yes.
and then there's politically directed, hey, we're friends with the president and he's giving us these licenses and the means to merge and to make money and reducing our taxes, so we have to pay him back. Any sort of combination of these that you sort of see a preponderance of?
I mean, I have no proof that this is some sort of right wing conspiracy. I have no proof. I don't have a smoking gun I can tell you, Ian, where they said to me it's because you're Democrat or liberal, or some conversation that was had, or some news story, that the New York Times uncovered, Trump telling, the YouTube CEO to get rid of all the liberal, anti-Trump voices. So I don't have any of that. All I have is I spoke to other YouTube creators who were demonetized doing the same kind of satire and parody as me around the same time, which would have
So it's a bit
been,
like Arlo Guthrie. You've become a movement.
yes. And we teamed up. So Scared Ketchup and I did a video together. Since I'm a Newberger and he's Ketchup, it was Newberger with Ketchup. And, we collaborated on a video. But both of us are no longer monetized by YouTube. So we had to find other ways to, get our parody to kind of pay the bills. But I can't prove to you this was a conspiracy by right wing, Trump. But I mean, all one has
If
to
it
do
looks
is,
like a conspiracy, it smells like a conspiracy,
yeah. I
it
mean,
quacks
look what
like a
his
conspiracy. It's a duck.
FCC guy, Brendan Carr, is doing, and look at Trump's vindictive record of punishing his enemies. It's not a hard leap to make that YouTube might need government contract or a waiver in some way for their business, and as a result, it's no skin off their back to trim down their 500, what is it, 500,000 YouTube channels, to cull the herd and lose some of the anti-Trump voices. Like, what else am I to believe? I'm not talking to a human. I'm not being given samples of what my work violated their actual rules, and they're switching midway their complaint from inauthentic content to unsatisfying content, which
If the
are
tables were reversed, a pattern of events like this will be enough to get you in federal prison on conspiracy charges.
right, right. And I don't want to be
Join up the dots and
a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, listen, it is what it is. What I decided was I cannot be defined by one platform. So I am now, Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies diversified my audience portfolio. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Patreon, I'm on Substack, I needed to replicate the way I was putting my content out so that I wasn't dependent on one platform that could say, we don't like your message, so we're silencing you. Because I'm trying to speak truth to power with my humor. I feel like right now we are in a very, very desperate time right now where our country here in the States is watching a guy clinging to power, and his policies are causing actual harm. A war that none of the country wants, tariffs on other nations that are causing us financial stress, and trying to dissolve our health care. I mean, real impacts. Now is when my voice should be out there and loud, and yet you could watch him trying to snuff out the comedians like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert on TV, and all of a sudden on YouTube, the satirists are disappearing from monetization. So it is a battle right now, and I'm determined to keep my voice loud and out there. So that's kind of what happened to me, Ian.
We do have a difficulty. If you presented a straight news broadcast and taken it in a time machine to 5 years ago, people would say this is a parody.
Yes.
So much of what
Yeah,
he does reminds me of, was it Biff in Back to the Future?
yeah. That I think the producers of that film even modeled Biff after Donald Trump.
Yeah, but that was before Donald Trump got the power to be Biff.
Yes, pre-Biff, pre-Trump
Yes.
Biff. Yeah, I
Now
mean,
he's being Biff. I mean, I when I first came here 40 years ago, God help us, 30 years ago, the first story some of the first stories I did was puncturing Trump's pretensions to be a great business person. But,
yes,
how is everyone presenting him as a great business person when, he's managed to go bankrupt with a casino, for God's sake. He's
yeah,
bankrupted an airline. He's bankrupted the Premier Hotel in New York.
yes.
He's failed selling vodka. I mean,
We
this
we knew
is
he was a joke. I'm a New Yorker. I remember going to a Knicks game, and Trump was on the sideline of the Knicks game I was at, and he got up and walked across the halfway of the court, the middle of the court, to leave in the middle of the game. And I remember turning to whoever I was with at that Knicks game saying, "That guy's such a douchebag." So when he ran or came down that escalator, I was like called into action. I'm like, that douchebag is running for president, that guy. And the first thing he did was be racist about Mexicans. So it's been a battle for us in the know, which is us New Yorkers who've known for years what a creep and a liar and a phony he is. Uh, Fighting people that have been influenced by his Apprentice TV show, thinking he's some businessman, incredible business guy. When the truth of it, it's just like a marketing machine. He's a genius PR guy. He knows how to fake his way through anything. And he gets people talking about what his narrative is, no matter what. And like every video I do is essentially taking what he's trying to say and flipping it into what he's really saying and what he's doing. I mean, that's kind of my model. And it's not, as YouTube has accused me of, being mass produced repetition. It's a response to what's happening.
if he keeps doing it and you keep reporting
Yes.
it, that's not
Yeah.
repetition.
Like, and YouTube has aspirations of being, I mean, aspirations, they're practically there, of being like a Netflix or a HBO. And I'm thinking to myself, imagine they're a network with TV shows complaining about repetition. Are they taking ER off the air because every episode is about doctors? Are they taking, it's like, it's just ridiculous. And the worst thing that bugs me is they're attacking comedy because they're accusing what I'm doing of being nonsensical. And it's like, from the earliest days of comedy, nonsense
They
is
never
what
saw
makes...
the Marx Brothers or Monty Python
Oh my
or
God.
whatever,
Benny Hill,
yes.
Mel Brooks, you name it. There's nonsense involved in comedy. And YouTube doesn't know comedy, and its AI certainly doesn't know comedy. And how are we as humorists and satirists supposed to do our art? If the platform doesn't understand or get what speaking truth to power using comedy means, we got a lot of work cut out for us. So
I've always thought that for far too many people in America and the American media, irony is what they used to make in Pittsburgh. They have no idea what anything is.
Yes.
They take things
They're
very
humorless.
literally. You
Yeah.
really, it's not much for us, as a practitioner yourself, you must know it's not much fun when you have to point out the joke to people.
I never do that.
Trump does it all the time without blinking because his jokes fall so flat.
If you don't get the joke with my stuff, I don't explain it. I always say it's not my job to explain the joke. It's my job to make the joke. And yes, Trump is not, he has become like less funny. He used to have like a whimsy to him that was amusing enough, at least, to get TV shows, but he's become so like rote and unfunny. I did a video recently where I took his White House Correspondents' Dinner routine, which fell flat and bombed, and I turned it into a 1960s film about a comic who's bombing at the clubs. I recommend that one to you if you're interested. But
okay, hang on, we'll put that in and show people.
Okay.
Send it to us.
I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It was a fake award. And I said, congratulations. She never smiles. I said, smile, Caitlin.
is going to destroy this club.
You know, when I was a developer, I used to get a ton of calls from the press. So I say, Steven, anyone call? He says, no, sir. So I give my number to the press. Now I get a lot of calls.
Someday I'm gonna marry that man.
This thing on?
I haven't seen bombing like this since Oppenheimer.
I will protect you, sir.
I was disappointed that Gavin Newsom didn't show up, but I heard that he recently said that we will lose our country if we don't fight fire with fire. And he definitely doesn't want to fight fire with water.
Get him off the stage right away. Yeah, Ian, I love what I do because I get to play with genres. And I'm kind of a film nerd, so I'll look back at like sci-fi films like Soylent Green or Logan's Run or The Planet of the Apes, and I'll use the aesthetic of these to create my own version of those classics that satirize Donald Trump and his, Stephen Miller and all of his suck-ups and sycophants. And that, I think, is what my audience most loves, in addition to the musical numbers, are these kind of all-in AI-generated, visual throwbacks to movies like The Warriors. I've done some obscure ones, too. That's kind of the magic of Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies. I'm like a throwback film nerd who's using the visuals of films that we love or are cult classics to skewer this administration. And very often, those throwback films, especially from the 60s and the 70s, they were warning us about this exact government. So it is not hard to use them as metaphors when they were warning us about Trump back in the 60s and the 70s.
Well, it's the cliche now, of course, that the 1984 was meant as a warning, not as a how-to program.
Yes, I agree with that statement. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I feel like what I'm doing is necessary. Listen, monetization is important because the AI credits are not free, and this is my job. So I had to find ways to make sure that, I could keep the lights on and keep doing what I'm doing. So I've been successful because I've made a name for myself. People hire me as like an AI consultant for film and commercials and political ads and that kind of thing. So I'm not dependent on any platform paycheck. But it is frustrating that YouTube has targeted me in this way, especially because it's unfair. It's AI generated. No humans have looked at my case, and it seems that it's politically motivated, but I cannot prove that.
Although I've got to come swinging in from left field or green field. Several people complained to me that sort of using AI at all was antisocial. It, burned up the planet. It took the water. It gets apart from its authenticity. It's actually a drain on the planet's resources. And so, each video you probably couple of 1,000 gallons of cold water.
Yeah, I've heard this. I think that here's how I kind of rationalize what I'm doing. When cars first were created, they were very necessary, and people saw them as a benefit of getting from place to place. Now, cars, gasoline, and the wear and tear on roads, there's negatives of cars. And over years, they've now made cars that are electric or hybrids. I think AI, you have to give it a chance to exist and then modify how it's operated so that it's not as harmful. And I don't know about the water per gallon leverage that is being sort of just put against AI in general. I need to see the metrics a little bit more before I can tell you that is like a definitive problem, because I hear a lot of complaints about AI. I hear both the complaints about the environment side and also about the sort of theft of intellectual property.
For free, I give you an offer. Maybe you could put a little running chiron on the bottom. This show has consumed
how much water?
X gallons of cold
10
water.
gallons. But I liken the intellectual theft side because I'm a brick and mortar filmmaker. I've been making films without AI for 20 years, and now I'm using the new technologies because I'll never shy away from a new tool or toy that helps you be creative. But I likened it to an episode of or the Star Trek Next Generation series. I don't know if you're a Trekkie, Ian, but they had
I'm a
this.
science fiction fan overall.
Okay,
I
so
just I've got to diverse here because I shout it every time I see the screen.
yeah.
Why has this crucial invention never reached the future millennium? Seatbelts on the Enterprise. They have a crash and they all fall out of their bloody
Yeah, they
seats.
fall out of their
No
places.
one has a seatbelt. I mean, it's sort of rudimentary. But
Yes,
anyway,
that's
let's
funny.
continue.
So in Star Trek: The Next Generation, they had this invention called the holodeck, where you would go into this room and it would imagine an entire world. It could imagine people in your life. It could imagine, a past you had or a future you want to have. And Star Trek was this sort of great look forward at what the world would be like. But no one was protesting the holodeck saying, you're using my image unfairly and you're using, found footage from my life or from, no one was criticizing the holodeck for the same reasons that AI gets criticized. And I thought, that's the good analogy. It's like we have this new technology that can change things in the world for the better. But like anything, whether, it's AI or whether it's cars or whether, what you name it, it can be used for bad or good. And as a society, we have to harness it and use it for good. And I think that's why I embraced it a year and a half ago, instead of like a lot of people in my industry ran to the hills because they thought it was going to replace them and they thought it's theft and all these things. You still need to be creative to create things. And you can't just throw like a video up of Spider-Man fighting Iron Man and say, look, I made a movie. You have to use AI to kind of tell a story still.
But
And I
AI
like,
as a tool, but not
yes,
necessarily as an inspiration. I think that's the
yes,
philosophical distinction you're working on. I mean,
yeah.
it's I tell I actually teach a course in dystopia,
Mm.
which is very current. It's like current affairs
Yeah, it's like
now.
current affairs is right.
And one of the things that I tell the students, look, you there's nothing wrong. I've always, ever since my first IBM desktop, I have used spell checker.
Yeah,
I've never felt this has compromised me, that I'm using
no.
artificial intelligence to check my spelling and typos and whatever. But
Yeah,
I've always wanted to check it because they don't get it sometimes.
yes. I feel the same way as a terrible speller. So yeah, I will always use technology that is available to augment my creativity, and that's why I can sleep at night with the AI stuff. I'm also, I obviously I'm an early adopter of it and have been using it and doing R&D with it for the last year and a half. So now I'm being looked at as an AI luminary, which is kind of funny, because I have like Stephen Miller getting hit in the butt by a golf ball, and all of a sudden, I'm being asked to speak seriously about AI based on that
And
creation.
golf balls and Stephen Miller's anus. I
Yeah,
mean,
on how to get the trajectory
that's
just right.
dystopia.
Yeah. So, but that's my YouTube story. I don't think it's going to work out for me. I think that they're going to use AI to review, my videos and come to the same conclusion because they want it. They have a verdict already before their investigation, and that is
Well,
we need to
are there
cull
any
the
moves
herd.
afoot for you and similar creators to create an alternative syndication platform? Since YouTube isn't adding anything. YouTube is it's simply providing a distribution network.
I think that that's like a pie in the sky idea, and I would equivocate this to if you ever were a stand-up comic or hung out with comics, they would all sit at like the bar before it was their turn to go on, quietly hating each other. So, and then they'd make small talk, but they hated each other. So I think it's the same thing with creators. Everyone is sort of out for themselves. So the idea of like, well, let's all team up and make a platform, it's kind of pie in the sky. Does that mean there won't be platforms? No, I'm getting emails from venture capitalists and private equity guys saying, hey, we're building the Netflix of AI. We'll see how these things shape out in the next, year. But YouTube and TikTok, by the way, I put my same videos from YouTube on TikTok, and within a week I had, 5,000 subscribers. It was gaining steam. And then TikTok pulled the plug and said, you can't be on here because of your AI. So I got demonetized by YouTube, banned from TikTok, and unengaged by Twitter. I'm
So
pissing
you're
off all
not
the right
paranoid.
people.
You're not paranoid. They genuinely are following you.
Yeah, I feel like I must be doing something right if I'm pissing off these major technology companies. And what I do, it's nothing. Nothing is violent, or I don't punch down. So you won't see a video by Mr. Newberger where I'm mocking poor people for being poor or minorities for being minorities. I'm punching up, and that bothers the people in high places. So I feel like it inspires me, in the way of like a Charlie Hebdo or Mad Magazine or the Smothers Brothers or any comedic entity that kind of was brave in the face of war or horror. I did a series called F Troops, which I made 10 episodes of it. I started when Donald Trump started his unjust war with Iran, and it's a parody of the old TV show F Troop, just in aesthetic and style, but it's Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, and they're waging a war on Iran. And it's become a very popular series. The first episode has like 800,000, views or something like that. But
feel free to send us the links so that we can.
I'll send you. I have a
can put them
Substack
up,
that has all 10 episodes kind of together. One of the episodes I couldn't post on YouTube because it had a scene that YouTube would have, taken me off the channel. So I have a Patreon account where I put things up and I'm allowed to, and no one messes with me. That's become my home base. And then Facebook, Instagram, I'm posting my things in redundancy. So you can find Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies on other platforms. You could still find me on YouTube. We'll see how that shapes up in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because I am being evaluated.
So it's not completely sort of gulag style. They're not purging.
They're not purging, but they do play games with some of your success with YouTube is if enough people watch something, they move you to the YouTube recommends homepage. So I've had friends and family say, "Hey, you're on my TV on the YouTube homepage." They don't do that much with me anymore, which it hits your engagement numbers.
They've tweaked the algorithms.
Yes, I'm always fighting algorithms, I find. But I'll fight whoever. If I feel like I'm in the right, Ian, I'm gonna take my fight. For as long as I have a breath and the ability to be funny, I'm gonna do it.
I mean, I've always been fascinated by the algorithms because it's a bit like Adam Smith and the Invisible Hand. And if this is getting so esoteric, I once wrote it was the sound of one invisible hand clapping.
Yes.
Really don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that they're mining data from anything you click on or mention or look at in order to get you the content they think you're most interested in, and that's kind of the future or present of advertising. But the idea that the same mechanisms are now going to be arbiters of what content is allowable. That's the frustrating part. We must never give the machine the ability to discern what is and isn't allowable or funny. We must keep that in the hands of humans.
Yeah, and that machine doesn't understand. I was about to say that machine can be a human machine as well. If you've got the sort of the Comstock censoring the males, and it's almost as bad as having a machine.
It's like, yeah, well, it's the human programming the machine to look out for a certain kind of content. Man and machine have worked together for decades, if not centuries, in their evil plans. But it is. I
remember 2001 with the bone tossing in the air.
Yes.
Since you're into iconic SF images.
Yeah. So, I feel like I'm not at a crossroads right now because I stopped caring about YouTube because I was able to cross-platform my content. I'm just curious where they're going to land this month. They told me they're reviewing my case within the next 30 days. 3 things could happen. 1, they could say, Mr. Newberger is a pariah. We're kicking him off YouTube, and the channel just disappears overnight in the dead of night. 2, they could say, yeah, we're not going to remonetize you. Just, you can stay here, but, beware.
We're not going to pay you.
And then 3, we had an epiphany. Mr. Newberger, you're welcome back. We see you're making us revenue, and we want to share profits. And That's not going to happen. Number three.
Do let us know, because that's a clear indication that they think that Donald Trump is about to fall.
Oh, well, that would be, wouldn't it? If all of a
Yes.
sudden I'm reinstated, that's good news for the
Talk about
country.
reading the runes. That's a good one. If they bring you back, it's because they think that the Trump regime is over.
Yeah.
The writing is on the wall for them as well.
And I was, willing to kind of go off silently into the dead of night with YouTube as a funnel to my other platforms. But when they called me unsatisfying, them's were fighting words.
That's right. Yes.
And that's why I spoke up last week, and maybe that's how you found me, because I can't abide them criticizing my work that way. I couldn't when they said I was inauthentic, and I very much can't when they say I'm unsatisfying, because I am very satisfying. I want your audience to know that. Don't ask my wife.
Oh, darling. How satisfying you are. Well, look, we'll leave you basking in self-satisfaction.
Thank you.
Justifiable self-satisfaction. And I hope to hear more of you. Do let us know what else is going on. And we might, who knows, we might be able to lead a session for all of our correspondents who are likely facing similar forms of demonetization, demonization,
Sure.
and well, some of our correspondents were put in a plug at the moment is that we have correspondents who have been refused visas to come back into the US because, well, they haven't been told. We've got one very particular case at the moment. Apparently, there's a box that the consular officer puts in that specifically says there's no specific reason to be given.
Yeah.
And obviously
Trump
monitoring
stuff.
content and saying no, we're not going to allow you in. The home of the First Amendment and having a decent regard for the respect for the opinions of mankind is now an up yours to anyone who disagrees with them.
Yeah, well, he has stunted the free press here in the States, and that is one of his worst qualities. How he's damaged the Fourth Estate, and the only voices that ask him questions now are plants and suck-ups and sycophants. So I appreciate the foreign press, and the press here, I hope, will stop catering to the overlords who own their networks, like the Barry Weiss Brigade of CBS, and remember that this country only is a democracy if the free and fair press can do their job and hold people accountable. So I do appreciate the work that the foreign press does, and I'm glad that other countries don't have Trump, try as he might, tariff or war.
No, comparisons are
You're
invidious,
still
but
free from him.
they have Xi and Putin. At least we're not going to the gulags yet. But I understand there's construction activity in Alaska. I'm worried. Okay, thanks very much,
screw
Jeremy.
things up in other ways.
It's been great talking to you. This is Ian Williams from the Foreign Press Association, and I've been talking to Jeremy Newberger of Mr. Newberger's AI Funnies, which you must go and see to support, well, professional home industries. This is what happens when you fall out with the boss and they fire you. You can fight back. So thank you, Jeremy. Look forward to hearing more from you.